A very great good evening, namaskar to one and all here. I, Shefali, on behalf of Women with Wings, welcome our prestigious panelists and audience for the evening. Let me walk you through Women with Wings. It is a platform which works extensively for women empowerment, motivation, and is spreading the concept of women collaboration instead of competition. A lot of women have come forward and are standing united with us. We do weekly sessions to spread our message. We have our bi monthly Wow Sutra, which speaks about the story of a common woman. Many research says that women generally retain far more resilience as they age than men. Hence, we could not think of a better topic to discuss today when so much is going around us. And we all need to be more patient, empathetic. So, our topic of the day is resilience during times of turbulence, actively coping skills in the practice. Welcome all of you once again, and let me quickly introduce with our great panelists for the day. So today we have with us Ms. Debjani Roy as our moderator. So she is an industry stalwart who brings with her 26 plus years of industry experience. She is famous as Bengal Tigress, Chief Evangelist Officer, Women with Wings, and CHRO Mind Your Fleet. Welcome, Debjani.
Thank you, Shafali. It's great to be here amongst, and representing women with wings all over again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our honorable speaker for the day is Saswati Sinha. Welcome, Saswati. Good evening. Thank you for taking out time and speaking at Women with Wings platform. Ms. Saswati Sinha is a human resource leader with more than 21 years of experience in people, process, and strategy. Awarded the Top 100 and Top 101 HR Minds in India by World HRD Congress 2018 and 2019 consecutively. Also the winner of 101 Fabulous HR Leaders in 2020. In 2020, presented by Ms. Menka Gandhi, the Observer Now Award. Currently, Saswati is associated as Senior Vice President HR with Shell India. Welcome, Saswati, once again. Our next speaker of the day, honorary speaker of the day, is Ms. Savita. Welcome, Savita. Good evening. Namaskar.
Hi.
Hi. So, she is a highly accomplished and seasoned industry professional with over 28 years of experience in education industry in the field of corporate relations, placements, and corporate connect, sales, channel management, and support function. She has worked with organizations like Chitkara University, University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, Team Lease, Bharati Learning Systems, NIS Sparta Limited, and all. Welcome, Savita, once more. And currently, she is associated with Chitkara University. Welcome you all, prestigious speakers, to the eminent panel. And over to you, Debjani, you being the moderator for the show.
Thank you, Shafali. And once again, it feels great to be among such an eclectic panel today. Hello, Saraswati. Hello, Savita. Uh, it's really beautiful that despite everything that is going on around us, which as we can say is bringing a lot of turbulence, a lot of trying times to all of us, we're still sort of finding time to network together, meet together, and probably give some answers or talk about some answers for the rest of the fraternity, which can help ease some of the pain or at least help show a way in which they can cope with what's coming their way. I think that was the thought primarily behind coining this particular topic, which Shefali presented to us. And without much ado, I would like to start off posing my first question to Savita. Savita, this term resilience. What exactly do you understand, or what does it mean to you? The term resilience, and would you think that it's a sudden development today to talk about this amongst people, or has it always been there, but it has just not been tested so far as it is being done today?
Thank you, Debjani, and thank you, Shefali, for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this talk and for the introduction. Uh, Coming to your question, Debjani, I think what I feel that Resilience was always there. I think most of us have been encountering a lot of incidents where we felt this kind of negative incident that happened and which pulled us down, and we all had to cope up and fight and come out. But this crisis, this pandemic, I think is mother of all crises. I think so, and it just came. I mean, it just bombarded and it was there. And now, the way things are in India these days, I think all of us are going through such bad times with our family, friends, neighbors. I think everyone becoming a victim of this particular wave. So I think that's what is breaking people, and that's what is giving such a negative energy, which is now they're all over, and it's very tough for people to pull out of this and be victorious. And plus, I think it's just going on, it's not even coming to an end. So that's what is again putting a lot of pressure on our minds. Coming to what is resilience, I think for as a word, if I have to define, it's basically the ability or the mental to mentally or emotionally cope up with any kind of crisis, or to return to a pre-crisis status quickly. That's what I feel is resilience. It's also protecting self from potential negative energy, from all these stresses that one goes through. So that's how I feel we can define what resilience is. It could also be defined as the how do you adapt yourself to come out of the adversity or any kind of trauma or tragedy or any threats or any kind of stress, which could be either in the family or relationship problems or any serious health problems, or it could be a workplace issue or any financial issues, because a lot of people these days are losing their jobs, the organizations are shutting down, the departments are shutting down, and being the only earning member of the family, it is very tough for the family to cope up with the expenses and how to meet the daily needs. So all these stress is what is building up either directly or indirectly to each one of us. And how do we cope up and how do we come out of this is what is resilience. And the ability to recover from or adjust from these kind of misfortunes is what is a strong resilient person. It can be referred to ability to cope up with whatever life throws on you. You have to go on and be resilient. So people who are coping up with this are the ones who are called resilient, a person who goes through a lot of challenges by using personal resources, strengths, positive capacities of hope, optimism. I think we've been growing up by people telling us, elders telling us in the family, कि अच्छा सोचो अच्छा होगा, be positive, think positive, so you can cope up with the negative things happening around you. So I think that's what we just need to reinforce in the system. That's what we need to talk to people around us and tell them that we have to cope up this day by day, because we don't even know how things are going to unfold in next 7 days or maybe 30 days. So it's very tough for us to prepare, but I think what is important to live today and be confident and be strong to handle these kind of situations. I think that's what resilience in present situation is. uh, Coming to your second question, Devjani, on whether this was already there, uh, I was, when this topic was shared by Shefali, and I was thinking about it, and I realized that yes, these kind of situations have been there. Losing a very near and dear person of your family was something which gave a jolt, and I think it's important to live that moment and feel sorry, feel unhappy, and somewhere feel sad about it. But then the sooner you come out of it, you have to work. It's a conscious decision that one has to take to come out of these kind of situations, to bounce back. I think that's what is important. Uh, Taking a small example, suppose if I look back, even the kids, I mean, these days, parents, the young parents who have young kids going for nursery admissions, and if they don't get a school of their choice, they feel, oh my God, the sky has fallen on them. Students getting not good marks in their class 10th or 12th, again, the parents and kids, everybody feels that that's not the right thing. But I have so many examples of people who have not scored well and are doing so well in their career. So I think those are things that we need to talk to people around us. And I think that's what is going to give people confidence of how to bounce back and how to come out of this. So that's, I think, important that I have seen in these so many years of my career or my life, that yes, it is important. This topic is very good. And I think the more we talk about it, the more we discuss with people around us, I think it will make a difference in the lives of people.
Thank you, Savita. I think very, very pertinent points that you referred to. I think, trials and tribulations and these kind of difficult times have always been part of our growing up. I think every individual does go through these stages, but that's exactly what it used to be. It used to be a stage, it used to come sometimes and go away. It never used to be a continuum. Now, what's happened today is probably exactly the way you said it. It's unprecedented, it's unpredictable. We still don't know what's in it for us, even in the coming future, how long it is going to last us, and probably the intensity of everything built us has become quite turbulent. I think that is the reason why resilience is under attack today. There are so many thoughts which are going around, but people are not able to put them together coherently in order to bring back that positivity in their lives. And that's probably why it was important for us to really open up this particular topic, so that people understand that there are some very simple common sense tools and probably simple ways of looking at it which can bring back that sanity of mind, in such a situation. So, Saswati, I know for a fact that you've been spending very, very difficult times. You've been really into the resource capability orientation programs. You've been helping people left and right, getting very sleep, as you rightly said, for yourself. Now, tell me something. So, there's so many kinds of, programs structured and stuff about coping that are now coming to the surface. Everybody is proliferating one approach or the other. But what is coping to you? Because you're really living through it. How are you facing it? Is it something which keeps coming to you as and when, or is it a structured method that even you are following through these difficult times?
So honestly, first of all, thank you very much for having me in the show. Thanks a lot for that. But so on your first questions, honestly, since last year, I don't think after the initial we actually had to cope up to a lot of stuff. Uh, by the end of the year, we thought, all of us thought, the world thought, the country thought that we have kind of recovered. We we had felt as an organization that after Holi things might change, and we were requesting people that they should follow more safety protocols. But when it hit us, it was so huge. It was so humongous. It was something no one had even foreseen, forethought, that I think all coping mechanisms went out of the window. We did not get time even to think what hit us. We just hit the ground trying to help, trying to find resources. Initially, we were very hopeful that we will find it, and then hope within a period of 7 days, 10 days, even that hope dwindled for all of us. I mean, HR, admin, we were like on it. We were trying to figure out all resources, whether it is government, whether it is contacts, whether it is reaching out to the common people who have some connection, some administrative guy in some hospital who can get a bed for an employee or a doctor appointment or whatever. So it's at that point of time, it's not coping you are thinking of. You are not thinking anything. All definitions go out of the window. Then it's about that one life and the people who are talking to you and asking for support. And then when you feel, and then there has been times, Dejani, that it's been, you feel so helpless. Even, believe me, even if I sleep for 4 hours, I feel guilty. I feel that, have I missed that message, or have I missed that call, which I could have taken, and it might have, I might have mobilized something which would have helped someone. It's like, it's constantly on the mind. And we, one by one, my admin guys started falling sick. um, we started falling, my team started showing symptoms. That's when I took a step back and I asked for help. So now there is a task force which is within the organization. Young kids have come together, and for the last 5 6 days, we have started following a process that, okay, these kids will do this part, then we will pick it up, because decision about finances, about giving advances, about paying out money and procuring the medicine, and not waiting for the, the company process to take in place, all that I can do and fast. But checking out leads, figuring out where to get that help from, that the kids are doing faster. They are much faster with a call, much faster with their network. They are doing it much. So this whole strategy of trying to implement a coping strategy, which we might have read about or people are circulating, I think it's out of the window. But having said that, what I have realized and lot of emotional as well as physical turmoil, what we should do, and first is insulate yourself against all the negative news coming in. I think that's first. It's easier said than done. And the families who are going through it, it's more difficult for them. But I think that's very, very critical. We have to all, and especially for the people who are extending help, for them, I think we have to insulate ourselves against the news that this is not available, that is not available. Stop listening to this negative thoughts. Just build a wall around yourself. And then secondly, focus on that goal. That what is that goal of the moment. Forget day, forget tomorrow, forget day after. I think all that has gone for a toss. Now it's the moment. Okay, this moment, this person needs this. This person needs that. So focus on that goal.
I think we lost your voice.
Am I
Okay, she
audible?
has.
I'm sorry. I think I
Yeah,
lost
we
you.
lost you for a little while in
Yes.
between. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I was saying was that the second thing was focus on the moment. Don't think about the day and tomorrow and day after. Tomorrow, if you need two beds, don't think like that. Focus on today, what we need now, and mobilize resources. I think that's important. The third thing is take a break. One needs to take a break from all this. One needs to step back, and one needs to just focus on oneself and distract. And I'm sitting here, and I'm my mind is going to my phone to check my messages, and I'm consciously telling myself that please take this break, so that at least I can divert myself from that emotional exhaustion which is now setting in. I think that's very important. Take a break. And last but not the least, surround yourself with people who who unconditionally stand with you. I think that gives a lot of positive vibes. That gives a lot of emotional support to you. That there are people around you. In fact, what I am going through, my husband is going through, because he is my download, and I keep downloading everything to him, and I keep pushing him also that you also find out this person needs this person needs that. So he is a huge support, because it's unconditional, right? He doesn't expect anything back, so he is just there. trying to help me and support me to go through these phase. And it's a very helpless feeling when you are unable to extend the help. So I think the best way, you have to surround yourself with people who give you that positive vibe. And last, again, is that a little bit of self care. We can't be God. We can only humanly possible. So I think that's what we should focus on. That what we should do, which is humanly possible for us. Because if the people who are able to help, if they fall sick,
We've lost you again. I think, Saraswati, you may need to log out and log in again once.
sorry, I think we lost that 1 second again, right?
Yes, yes. Just the last
Yeah,
point that you were making.
yeah. So I was just saying that if the people who are able to extend the help, if they fall sick, help. So I think the people who can help have to also take care of themselves. It's very important. We forget that
I think we've understood, Saraswati, the point you were making, which is really that the caregiver, the person who's really doing the resource mobilization, they also need to adequately look after their own well-being. Otherwise, if they fall sick, then that's another resource which is gone from us. So thank you, Saraswati. Thank you very much. I think very beautifully put the points, in terms of how and what are the different kinds of emphasis we should lay on what approaches. Um, Savita, the next, I come back to you, and this is again about coping, because coping has become so critical for us right now. Because every time that we put in our efforts, there's a fatigue, there's a lot of load we take upon ourselves. So we also have to improvise on the kind of coping mechanisms that we adapt for ourselves. Now, my question to you is coping a learned skill? Is it something that can be acquired through practice and by observing and understanding how it is done, or is it something which comes naturally to people? Because honestly, I have found my experience has been that some people cope very naturally. Some people are given to positivity even in the face of, if the earth is breaking apart. But then there are others who go into the brooding syndrome at that fast. They get into the negative spiral so fast, and they're unable to bring themselves out, which is where the learning part becomes very, very critical. So how would you address that?
Yes, I think I agree fully to what you said, Devjani, that there are people who are very strong, who take each negative thing that hits them in a very, very strong manner, and they cope up, and we feel, oh, this person is so strong. I mean, he went through such a big disaster, and still he's able to handle and pull out and come back. There are others who even a small little scratch really pulls them down, and they feel, oh my God, we just can't, take it anymore, and we have to really work a lot on those kind of people. So there are people who have inborn also DNA is something like that. But yes, what I have seen in so many years, that these are skills that can be learned. And I think once we are pushed against the wall, we come out of it in case there are people around you. So again, I think it's very important what I was listening to Saraswati and how she was mentioning that the entire department, the entire organization is one family right now, and trying to
Yeah.
help different individuals, whether it's their own employees or the extended families. Everyone is trying to give their best and help each other. So I think it's very important to be competent, to be confident, have right connections and character, and the contribution. I think whatever I can contribute to pull out this person is something that each one of us should be able to do, and coping up and controlling this. So it's important to have the right kind of people around you who would help and to whom you can talk. I think one great thing that this pandemic has done, that we have all gone back to our own small circle. So whether I would like to share that my school group or my college group or my ex-colleagues, all those groups have suddenly become very active. So one need of a plasma or an oxygen cylinder in some group, and the moment you put, you get 10 feedbacks from there, and then you collate, check on the calls whether the number is valid or not, and give it back to the other group which is into need. So it's important to have the right kind of people whom you're sure that they would help and they would come out and do that extra bit for you. So that's what has taught us in these times, which was always there actually, where whenever we had any problems, there were right kind of people who would come forward and help us, whether it was your family or your friends or your neighbors. But this situation has really got that in a very clear picture. So we know who are the right kind of people where you can bank upon and you can look upon that they would come for help. Today, I think I had one of my next door neighbors, his mother was unwell. Till yesterday night, we were trying to look for a doctor for her. She was a non-COVID patient, and I was thinking that they will take her to hospital today morning and she would be fine. And morning when I get up, and after our first call that we had, I just stepped out and I came to know she was no more. And we were all preparing to take her for the last rites. I was shaken, I was shattered the whole afternoon, because seeing her every day and talking to her and being there, it's a Bengali family, so they had the chanka every evening, which I used to wait, and it was on the dot 7 o'clock that auntie used to do. So all those memories were on my head, and I was thinking, oh my God, how the family must be coping up. But then I think the best part was the neighbors. I mean, there were 5, 6 of his friends who were there to help him out, to do everything and give him that pat that don't worry, we are all there. And that's what made him strong. And I think that's very important these days, that to have right kind of people around you, and just understand that this is the time that we have to be for each other. I think that's what is important. Rightly what Saraswati said, that to help others, you have to be fine, you have to eat right, you have to be physically, mentally fit to handle these kinds. So if you have to help 2 other people or 20 other people, you have to be fit to be there for them. So I think eating right, taking that rest, pulling little away from these news is something which I agree with her is what we have to do. We have to unwind maybe by old things that we used to, because we can't step out, no runs, no walks. So maybe listening to music, working on your plants. So each one of us have indoor plants and outdoor. So I think those are things that we need to work upon. But yes, I feel that this is a skill that can be learned, because most of us who have gone through adverse situations have learned the hard way and bounced back. So that's what my take on this would be.
Lovely. I think that sounded so genuine. And what is best is what I feel is absolutely the way you explained it. It's better not to make too much of noise around this whole thing. There's so much of transactions happening. Do this workshop, look at this, look at that. It's something which is inherently present in people. There's this saying that when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. I think we've all heard about it. And that's where we are realizing today that people who would would have been perceived as very soft, or people who would have been just, just a part of the, the surroundings otherwise, are rising above the moment, and they're doing such service, they're showing such wonderful responses, that one wouldn't have thought that a responsible citizen of the country could actually come to the task, which probably even large organizations are not able to do so well. So I think the first thing we need to do is not underestimate ourselves. The biggest thing about resilience is never underestimate yourself, because you have it in you. It might be a latent something which is sitting inside you, but till you are tested, you don't know whether you're able to express it or not. Saraswati, some people also, what I've heard, what I'm hearing is, despite all our positivity and all the rallying around that we are doing together, some people are, however, becoming stoic, and they are struck with numbness. They're moving into a despair zone where they're unable to recover themselves so much. You know that is surely, to me, doesn't seem like resilience, but at the same time, I think we all owe it to them to do something about it in order to bring them out of that kind of darkness. How do you think we can encounter these different dimensions of psychology, which is that numbness or the stoicism that people get dragged into because of losses, because of the continuous suffering? How do we really reach out to them and break those kind of shackles in their minds?
You know, the our medical system, our doctors, our nurses, our medical health system, they are trained into all this when they go through their studies, right? Because they see suffering every day as a profession. So I have many friends who are doctors. So now what they have, and I have been talking to them that, how does one get through this? I needed help because it was like overwhelming for me too. So what they said was that the first thing one needs to do is you do tend to become numb because you need to cope. If you are not detached, not numb maybe, but not detached, if you don't detach yourself, you cannot help the next person, because you yourself break down, and it's too much the whole day. There is one person or the other needing help, and for professionals, obviously, it's much more. So if you don't detach, you are not able to be fully productive for the next person who needs your help. So a little bit of detachment is part of resilience, that's fine. But when you become numb, absolutely zero, and you despair, that's a balance one has to project. And I think that balance comes when you have a goal, a purpose. If you are just sitting in one place and listening to news, or if you are just you tried to help one person that didn't help, or you lost someone very close, and that pushes you into a zone, and it's natural. It is, I will honestly say, it's natural. What we need to do together is, because we need to connect with each other a lot more. So whosoever our circle is, we need to reach out through WhatsApp groups or whatever, whichever way, like Savita ma'am was saying, that whether it's your college, school, whatever, keep reaching out and give each other a purpose. That purpose right now is to help someone. That purpose can also be to help yourself, like you ask for help. If someone is able to help you, that also gives that other purpose, a person, a purpose. If you are not feeling sad yourself, and you know that you want to reach out. Don't just feel sad and sit in one place. Now is not the time. Just reach out to people who have been with you, who have been part of your childhood, of happier times, better times, who will stand by you. I think that really, really helps, Debjani, because it has helped me. um, I've been personally going through all this, and my old parents who stay in. I'm from Assam, so my old parents who stay in Guwahati, they are alone. They have no help in the house, and there was a 6.7 Richter scale earthquake, right? Along with the COVID, then there is an earthquake. My father is a stroke patient. He just suffered a stroke 1 year back when he was here, and he left in January. So if I think about them, if I think about my brother sitting in Bangalore and I try helping all the people who are coming around and seeking help, I'll break. So I also need help, and I should reach out to people, and then I should not, so that I don't get into a despair zone. I think that helps. That is something we should all be doing to stop getting into a zone of numbness and despair and depression.
I think what you said resonates so much. It'll resonate so much with many of us, especially I can resonate with it immediately because, I have a 19-year-old daughter at home, believe you me. And typically we look at this age group as a very different kind of a tribe, very different from the way we have been. But believe you me, the way I have seen her scale up, doing what she needs to do at this hour, my respect for this generation has gone up notches. And she has now become my sounding board. When I feel like I'm losing it, when I feel like, oh my God, the everything is coming to a standstill and I don't think I can take it anymore, I just have to go sit next to her and I use her as a sounding board. And despite the age difference and despite the fact that I am supposed to be the older person, I get so much of solace. I get so much of positivity just by speaking to my 19-year-old. So I can resonate. I think we all need to find our areas, our sounding boards, our true calls of conscience, because otherwise it'll become difficult for us to get going. Exactly what you're saying. And another thing that I wanted to mention is, helping people in this particular time is of different kinds. We are only talking about resource provision, but believe you me, I came across a situation
Emotional.
where, yeah, and also job related of a different kind. There was this family where the man was almost 60 and he was actually the general manager of a production unit in textiles, right? And somehow his boss, who was a US citizen, continuously harped on him, wanting him to attend factory every day. He was insistent that lockdown or no lockdown, I want you to be present because your job is a hands-on job. And he was not a very erudite person. He was not somebody who could frame mails very well. He actually approached one of us and said, could you please describe a scenario in such a matter that my boss really understands that, exposing myself in this situation every day in a factory surrounding could be fatal. And will he actually take responsibility for me and my family? And there we all went. And somehow we all became shadow writers. And we were all framing mails, and the entire transaction happened from our end. And probably the boss never even got to know who were actually the authors penning those mails. But finally, it was a win-win. Finally, we were able to make that gentleman understand that, look, there is a reality sitting in this country which is very different from probably what you're going through. So I
Very
think
nice.
resource mobilization, reaching out, doing your little bit is what is the need of the hour in every possible way.
Gives a purpose. It always gives a
It is a
purpose.
purpose. Exactly what you said. Having a goal at this point of time is so very important because that at least keeps you going. So my next, questions are rapid fire questions. Okay, and this is open to both of you. Whoever wants to go for it, please go for it. My first one is, taking responsibility for your own feelings and actions, can that be quoted as a coping strategy when you're very very aligned that I know exactly what I'm supposed to do and I'm going about it? Is that a strong
Oh,
coping strategy?
Sarita, would you want to take that?
Yes, I can. See, when we talk about the coping strategy, I think what I will maybe continue with what Saraswati and you were mentioning, that there are a lot of people who are coming out and giving big donations and doing different things, and they are all across the big industrialists and people from that background. But yes, the small people who are not that big names and big faces are doing a lot of good things that we are reading and seeing in the news every day.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is important, that a small thing, that even if you can cook a meal for the family who's COVID family just next door and give that every day to that one household, I think that makes a difference. I mean,
Absolutely.
that is what the entire colony is doing. And how do you work that? I mean, you are cooking your food, and it's just 4 chapatis, 6 chapatis extra that we are all cooking and giving it. So that's something that each one has just picked up and is doing their own way and coping up with work, with all these stresses, with your general work from home and your normal course of life, I think. So that's something that has suddenly inculcated this habit of coping up, giving, and doing something for others, which is very good. I think that's what, and what you said that your daughter is seeing and picking up, that's what we have all been doing in our different spheres of time. I remember that I've been working throughout without even one day break in my career. And I didn't realize that, I was on driving 25 kilometers to my office. I have 2 kids, my family, my in-laws, my siblings, and everything was going back to back. But it was just one goal that you mentioned. The goal was to bring up my kids in the right direction and give them the best schooling, give them the best college. And that was what was going on. I never realized that I was doing something great or it was normal, because I think 20, 25 years back, the HR policies were not that strong for, for bringing up your kids or the maternity leaves. And we were not those privileged, and people never used to talk. I was in the marketing and sales profile, only female in the entire team of 32 people. And every time I was asking for outstation center, and I was told, no, you can't travel, so you can't do this. But I was just doing and trying to do it because, and I did it in a very happy style. It never was taking a toll on my health or my mental state. And just recently, I spoke to one of my ex-colleagues, and she mentioned that, ma'am, she was much younger to me. And she said that now that I'm working and I have 2 kids and I'm, doing all these 10th class boards and other things, you are always my role model. And I always think about Savita ma'am, if she could do it those days. And those days I couldn't understand because she was very young, first job, and she was just fresh out of her MBA. I could not even feel what was it, getting your kids and dropping them at your parents' place, taking them in the evening, going back home. But now when I am doing all this, you're always there. And I feel if she could do it, why can't I? So it's like unknowingly, I think we are giving these kind of positive strokes to people around you, that how you can cope up, what is it that you can really give to the society and people around you and make them happy and show them the path. I think that's what is important. Coping up is not that tough. I mean, in case what we have been talking for past half an hour, that how confident you are, how happy you are, how well connected, and what kind of people and support system. I think that's very important.
Very important.
So that's what we have to work on. And this pandemic has, I think, taught all of us that being right kind of people around you is so important. And I think
Yes.
you have to be mentally and physically very strong to cope up with these kind of eventualities. That's what my
Absolutely, beautifully said. Because I think there's no running away from the fact that we are all social animals, and we
yes.
survive best when we make the bonds together, has been reinforced by what we are facing around us today. And so well you explained, Savita, that when those days when you were working hard, you never realized that what you were doing, as if it was nothing extraordinary. You were meant to do
Yes.
it, but the fact that you had a goal, and that was exactly what my question was, that you had a purpose and you knew how to go about it. That's exactly what coping is at any situation, in any stage of life. You always learn the ways to rise up to the occasion that you want your goal to be at. The other part is, we all hear about mindfulness, and something that Saswati mentioned a little while back, when she was explaining about whether coping is something that she's doing on a regulated basis, or how do you really go about it. She mentioned that you don't think about what happened yesterday, and you don't think about what's going to happen tomorrow or day after. Live in the moment and do your best for the moment. I think that's exactly what even mindfulness really teaches you, that you should be focusing on what is in it for you today, so that you conserve your energy and do the best, bring the best effort forward. If you keep thinking about what happened yesterday, or you keep fearing about what might come tomorrow, you will lose that efficiency. So I feel mindfulness is a great way of coping in the current situation. Would you agree? I mean, that's just something that I wanted any one of you or both of you to sort of reflect on.
Maybe I'll take that
And
mindfulness because I think all of us have been practicing this, but I came across this as a training module in my last organization, UPES, where it was a part of one of our leadership programs. And that's when I actually came across that this is such a beautiful thing that can be put across to people, and people can be trained. And there are so many talks that are being given on mindfulness, and there are such good apps which are available now for people to actually know about mindfulness, which is nothing but some kind of a meditation, or it is something which teaches you to reconnect with present state, because that's what is important too. How do you concentrate on your breath and think about present only, and then keep moving? Because as humans, I think we are so wired in our past and future that we just forget thinking about what present is, and we are not grounded to the present. So that's what this mindfulness module, or this word that is so much in use these days, is teaching all of us. And that's what is important. And very recently, I think I saw my daughter using one of the apps of mindfulness, because she was working for a startup, and she had so much to do, and she was stretched right from morning to evening with number of calls and mails. And every night she would say, oh, I'm so stressed, I think I've not been able to finish my work uh, that I was supposed to do today. So I have to get up tomorrow morning. Maybe I'll get up half an hour early before the call finishes, and then get into my uh, Scrum meeting. So she is the one who started using this app, and she says it has worked beautifully. So she has been able to cope up. So she knows how to cope up with present. So think about present, and then take the day as it comes. So that's, I think, my take on mindfulness. Fully agree. And I think it's an important tool.
Saswati, you
Saraswati, if
wanted
you
to
would
say
add,
something on
yeah.
this?
yeah, so honestly, we have heard, I have a little different thing on this. We have heard a lot about mindfulness, and a lot of people are talking about it. Easier said than done. So people who are going through it, it is not easy to
Mm.
suddenly become mindful, right? Because they don't have resources, they do not have mental health, they are getting into a blame game. You will see it all around you. People blame each other, organization, government, whosoever they can get, because they feel helpless. When someone feel helpless, it's you. What do? You blame circumstances, you blame situations, you blame someone else. That gives you a feeling of being in control. So when you are going through this phase, being mindful is the toughest thing possible to do. Yes, it's a great coping mechanism. Can you implement it in today's scenario? It's very tough. So I think although it's great, we have to take small steps at a time. It is to even practice mindfulness. The first step is just take out that 5 minutes consciously in your thought. I'm an ardent yoga fan. Actually, I love yoga because I think it takes away, it does a lot of good for your mental and physical well-being. But the last 15 days I have done nothing, although I am a regular practitioner. So that's when I say yesterday I told myself, okay, fine, you don't have to do that half an hour, 1 hour session. Just take out that 5 minutes and breathe in, breathe out. So I think that's where we have to start focusing on that. Take those small, tiny steps consciously. It's really going to help you. Don't set up set up big goals that, okay, today I will meditate for 15 minutes and today I will detach myself for 1 hour. It will not work because there's too much of helplessness going around. So just take that 5 minutes and just do it. Just breathe in, breathe out, open the window and breathe in, breathe out the fresh air coming in. Just do that. I think that's really going to help. It's helped me. So
I think I'm very lucky, and I feel that I've done the right thing by posing this question, because look at the complete different insights that both of you have brought to the table. While it can't be said that mindfulness doesn't help, it does. In a way, it's a good coping strategy. But yes, you're absolutely right, Saraswati, that mindfulness is the ultimate. This is where you've mastered all art of bringing consciousness within your unconscious mind. And what is happening to you today when there's so much pressure and so much, as you rightly said, when you feel helpless, and when you see the doors closing, and when you see, the no's becoming greater than the yeses, in that state of unconscious mind, it's very difficult to retain the consciousness of the rational way of thinking. And there, in order to speak about large jargons, large approaches, somewhere becomes suboptimal. Therefore, you rightly start with small steps and ultimately build on them. And finally, all you're doing is really practicing mindfulness, but possibly not in a very, very structured manner, but moving towards that direction. So,
yeah.
yes, it is a coping mechanism, but we as a fraternity, especially through this particular panel discussion that we are having, would want to tell our brethren that don't use these approaches as something which is a great goal to attain. Start small, but start with things which are more yours integrally, and you find peace in exercising those. And it doesn't have to be a common approach for everyone. Finally, after
Correct.
having said all this, there will remain people who will not be as strength, as full of strength, as strong, as very, very logical, to be able to go through these very, very difficult times. And they may still have a very low score on what we call resilience. They may still be fighting for it. What would be those little small tips? Yes, you've already shared some tips. We've already shared about things that keep yourself healthy. Put yourself in a situation where you have positive people around yourself, so that your fraternity also helps to go forward. Small other small tips, so that somebody who's really low and who's feeling as if the world is coming to an end can quickly snap out of that mental syndrome and can probably start feeling better. Because both of you are great practitioners, and you've answered with so that I would love you to share those insights also as a parting shot, as part of our discussion.
Can I just start and ma'am, you can
Yes,
end?
yes, please.
Okay. So, what I will request, well, I request myself also, what I'll request everyone out there is uh, the human spirit is naturally resilient. It is by nature, we are a species which is, resilient. So if you are feeling down in the dumps and you are despairing and you cannot follow any of the tips that we have spoken about today, I would suggest don't fight it, because it's a curve. So you will feel despair 1 day, 2 day. You should know the boundary, the balance. There's 1 day you feel very low, totally in despair and low in hope and resilience. Let it be. It's okay to feel like that. Don't feel that, and the people around, it's especially, this is a request to the people around that person. Don't feel that you have to try extra hard to bring that person out of it at that point of time only. It's not needed. Just be around, be there with that person, and for that person who's in that down in the dumps, that person will ride it out. Just needs to be in that environment where there are people around who are supporting. Don't be alone. I'm again restating this. Don't be alone. That's very important. Don't stay alone. If you're feeling low, if you're feeling in despair, don't close yourself. Try and keep yourself open. And if you cannot do that also, write it out. Have that insight somewhere that you can write it out. I'll feel unwell 2 days, the third day I need to write it out. Have that thought inside you all the time. Hold on to that. I think that helps. Over to ma'am.
Yeah,
Savita?
I think, yes. So I think rightly put by Saraswati that that's important, that to hold on, and I think to live present is what is important. There's no point thinking that the world is going to end and things are going to go from bad to worse. We just can't do anything, and there are a lot of things which are beyond us. But yes, I think preparing ourselves and preparing our own self, I think, is what is important right now. So those small steps that she was mentioning is something that we have to work on. Be with people, talk to people, think about people who need help. So maybe, like she was mentioning, her parents are alone. I'm sure each one of us have friends and families and neighbors who are staying alone. Even if we can talk to two people in a day, I think that makes a difference. Making somebody happy is, I think, will give us those positive strokes. So I think those are things that we should start working on and start contributing in those small steps. I think that's important for each one of us. So, and
And I think some of our audiences have also been stating very lovely facts. I just saw Meetu, put a very nice statement that ye waqt bhi guzar jayega. So
welcome.
another thing, look at, as you rightly, or both of you stated, and I also strongly believe that when the sky is really going dark, there are also silver linings which you keep seeing, trying to appear from in between. At least in the mornings today, we hear the koel singing. I don't remember when in cities such as Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, the koel used to sing on the branches around your home. And it is such a melodious fact. Sometimes your entire fatigue goes away when you hear that song. At least I have been, it resonates with me very strongly. Um, uh, and yes, listening to music, reading up on books which we have lost touch with, trying to also connect with facts which we left behind in our younger times. We got too busy about them. We ran the race of the world, and therefore we left behind a lot of the finer nuances. I think many of these are those small things which you can start, telling, or you can talk to yourself and say that maybe that's something that I can also start doing in this point of time. It's important because those are at best your coping strategies. You're not going to become a doctor tomorrow. None of us are going to become practitioners of that kind. So these are some of the things, whereabouts, where we feel not only can we do good to ourselves but also to people around us. I think it's been a wonderful discussion. I would like to definitely call upon Shafali at this juncture. Shafali, if you can join three of us here. And if you have anything to add, it'll be wonderful to hear you also towards the fag end of the program. Thank you so much, Saraswati and Savita. It's been an absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful, discussing and deliberating with both of you. Thank you so much.
I think Devjani, adding to what Meetu was mentioning, I would like to just close the session with tough times don't last, but tough people
Yes,
do.
people
So I
do.
think
Yes,
that's what is important. Over to
yes,
you, Shafali.
absolutely.
Thank you so much. So, I was hooked to the session today. The tips shared by both of you, Savita and Saraswati, and Devjani, you topping over it. Wonderful insights. I think we have learned, and I see a lot of comments roping in. Our audience have really thoroughly enjoyed the session, and our backend team has see more comments coming in. They have summarized the session so beautifully that the need of the hour is talking to self, talking to the circle of influence, doing meditation, take deep breathing, go to childhood friends, everything so beautifully narrated and put it by both of you. This is a lot is happening, a lot of chaos is there, but everyone needs to find out how they can be uh, how we can cope up, how we can survive. The life has to move on, things have to go on. Yes, it is a tough time, and this too shall pass, as all our audience are again and again saying. And you being coming these wonderful pointers coming from three of you, the legendaries of the industry. What I feel is, because I feel that you three are handling so many workforce, so many people, so many losses happening in and around family, friends, circle, relatives, colleagues, and you being compassionate, resilient, and handling the tough situations. And I think that is the reason Women with Wings has chosen up this topic today. that the survey, because today morning when I was just going through the topic and doing some research, I found so many links, saying that women are, much better. Men, please excuse me, are much better in handling such kind of situations because they are empathetic, they are, courageous at times, bold, and they know how to handle these situations, and at the same time being resilient also. And this was clearly visible from today's conversation. So I think this is the need of the hour. Let us do this more. Let us connect more, bring in more sessions, and let our audience, if we are able to, what I feel personally is if we are able to touch one life also, if we are able to save one life also, our mission is successful, our purpose is solved. We don't look at, masses, because you being into organizations, you are definitely doing so many things for the betterment of the society and the colleagues. But if as a community, as a platform, if we are able to touch one life also, our mission is successful. And today I can see so many people, definitely it was a learning session for many of us. So from bottom of my heart, thank you so much. I understand Saswati and Savita ji, you were struggling through a lot of chaos in morning when I spoke to you, and still you could make out, and this session was very encouraging for many of us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tejjani.
Thank you. Thanks for having us here.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you so
Tejjani.
much.
Bye, Savita ji.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Stay safe, everyone.
Yeah.